Scott Wetzel is not for everyone. For instance, sane people who can easily tell right from wrong are strongly urged to change the channel. Doctors Radio declared listening to Scott Wetzel can be hazardous to your health and can cause sickness, strokes, or wanting to take long walks on short piers. Feelings of agitation, dizziness, depression, frustration, and cold sweats are common when listening to Scott. You can have a bad reaction, such as confusion, redness in the face, teeth clenching, fist pounding, wanting to put a fork in your eye, and feeling the need to throw your radio out the window. Listeners have also reported increased swearing, trouble sleeping, and a strong desire to gamble. Truckers and drivers are urged to stay away. Learn from Jack from Arkansas. As for women, don't even think about it.
Oh no, my nipples clearly got erect.
You've been warned. Now, here's your host, Scott Wetzel.
And welcome to the Scott Wetzel Show right here on a terrific Tuesday on FanstreamSports.com. FanstreamSports.com, the home of the Scott Wetzel Show, Monday through Friday, 2 to right around 4 o'clock or so, 3:30, 4 o'clock Eastern time. Sitting in for the next hour and a half or so, taking a look at the world of sports. You want to send a tweet, it is at Opposite Picks. That is OPPOSITE, Picks, P-I-C-K-S. Email me. Go to the website, OppositePicks.com. Hit the contact Scott icon and fire away, or just go to SWOppositePicks@yahoo.com. A little YouTube chat as well. Check us out on the Scott Wetzel Show. Hit that subscribe button and fire away with our YouTube chats throughout the program. Lot to get to today. MLB picks after going over yesterday. College football coaches poll just came out moments ago. We got baseball trade winners and losers from yesterday. Tigers defend their moves. Boston College takes a hit. Troy Aikman in the news, sort of. Miami Hurricanes in the news. Horse racing might be done, and common sense in tennis. How about that? We will get to all those stories, plus again some YouTube chat, little emails, little tweets, and some picks. And of course, our proverbial, we'll leave you with this, which is becoming must-see TV for sure. So what's going on, LLs? How are you on this terrific Tuesday? Beautiful day here on Long Island. Should be nice all week. It's funny, 2 days ago, they're calling for rain Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it's a Friday. A day later, I don't know, the whole world shifted, I guess, because now they're calling for sunny skies, temperatures in the low 80s. Go figure this stuff out with the weathermen, right? We joke about it all the time on the podcast, how you just can't believe these dudes. I wish my picking history could be so bad and yet still have a job. You know, I really do, with the amount of times that they're right with their forecasts. So, but fortunately they're wrong, and then fortunately it's a beautiful day, at least here. So full slate of baseball after kind of having a shortened day yesterday. Really surprised they had any days or any games, being with the baseball trade line being yesterday afternoon. You would have thought they would have given teams, extend the deadline into like maybe 8 o'clock at night. This way you get the West Coast to at least 5 o'clock. You just don't have any games. That's all. No big deal. For the most part, you don't have that many games on a Thursday, getaway day, or a Wednesday even. So just kind of shift the schedule a little bit. This way the executives and the teams and the players don't have to worry about being traded, this, that, and what have you. You trade players. You don't have the new guys. You obviously don't have the old guys available for the games at night. So that's the one little quirk that baseball really should do. If you want to have a couple, I suppose, but not the 8 or 9 that they had yesterday. So back to a full slate today after having not that many days off yesterday. How about some NFL over-unders? Our first, well, not really. I shouldn't say that because we did look earlier on the podcast. But here on the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStream Sports, our first kind of real look at all the over-unders in the NFL. This week into next week, going to dive into some of the college football stuff also. So spent some time last night, earlier today, looking at the NFL, the schedules. We did the schedule, remember, last week. Then I promise you we kind of correlate that into their over-under total. So I have an over-under for every single team, bar none. Why not? Every single line is a half. Somehow or another, miraculously, 32 games, and the boys in Vegas had every single team, with a half, win or a loss, depending on if you want to play over or under. So because of that, even if you got a tie, you'd still have an over-under play. So we will have a play on every single one. This will be our initial play. You want to hold me to these? You can. I do like these. Now, If some quarterback gets hurt or some wide receiver running back gets hurt in training camp over the next month or so, then it all gets thrown out the window. But that's the gamble you take, in betting this stuff now. I do like to bet it early. Injuries are just part of the game. They just are. Not a lot of my over-unders are predicated on, one outside of a quarterback, a Joey B, a really good quarterback, hell, even a really bad quarterback, I suppose. Outside of the quarterbacks, even a good running back, even a good wide receiver, it's not generally going to change my thinking too much. So these are the initial plays. We'll double down on these as we get a little bit closer to the season. But I do have lines on every single one. And it'll be curious. When we did this, when did we do this? About a month or so ago when they first came out in early July. I actually had 6 over-unders. And without looking right now on what they were, I kind of forgot about them. Had them in the back of my mind. But we'll compare the lines and then we'll compare my thoughts. And I'd be curious to see if I had the same ones, to tell you the truth. I got a feeling I do. I kind of remember a couple of them, but when you put in 5,000 bets over the course of time, you tend to forget about those things, like which ones that I have over, which ones that I have under. So we'll have some fun with that later on today as well. So never get too early NFL or college football talk. And the polls came out in college football, the coaches poll. A little surprised. We'll start there. Why not? That just popped off the wire. No surprise who's number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or maybe even number 4. But the surprise for me starts right around 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 from there. We'll start at the top. Don't bury the lead. No surprise, right? If I told you, if you didn't know a thing about college football, if you were asleep for the last 20 years, and I said, who do you think the coaches chose in 2026 to win it all? Best team. You'd probably, 90% of you would probably get this right. Maybe 80%. Ohio State, right? Of course. Did Ohio State win last year? No. Did Ohio State win 2 years ago? No. They win 3 years ago? No. So, actually they did. But they are picked out of the, 70-plus coaches, 38. About half of them picked Ohio State to be the number 1 team. Now, it's curious to see how these things go. Do they think that means they're going to be the national champion or they're just the best team right now? Whatever the case, they are the number 1 team. No surprise there, right? I would have said that or predicted that as well. Oregon, number 2. 8 of the coaches picked Oregon, or 6 of the coaches, rather, picked Oregon, which is a little quirky thing, and we'll go over here in a second as far as the cumulative total. But no surprise, how good is the Big Ten going to be this year, right? Oregon and Ohio State 1 and 2. Georgia is number 3 with 7 first-place votes. So they actually got 1 more first-place vote than the second-place team, even though they're in 3rd place. Again, no surprise. They got some quarterback issues. They got to replace their quarterback, but, it's college football. These teams just reload. Texas is number 4 with only 2 first-place votes. Interesting, because the number 5 and the number 6 team got way more than Texas got. So it's kind of a feast or famine, I guess, with Texas, in that there's only a couple teams that think they're the number 1 team in the nation, but they clearly think they're higher than the other clubs that are behind them. So even that, with the goofy Manning, that's not Archie. That's not really that big of a surprise either, right? The first surprise for me is not necessarily how high they are, but actually how low they are, and that is Notre Dame. Notre Dame got 5 first-place votes, 2 more than Texas. Finished up with just two less points than Texas, but to get 3 more first-place votes and be behind Texas is kind of interesting. And everything I've read, they got a whole bunch of people coming back, including their quarterback, who made great strides last year. I would have, and I'm almost happy they are number 5. Just because, they have enough of a bullseye on them just being Notre Dame. They don't need to be number 1 or even number 2. I'll take being number 5. So they got 5 first-place votes, and they're 5th, which is interesting. I think they're better than Texas. I think they're better than Georgia. We'll find out ultimately if they are better than Oregon or Ohio State, but I think they should actually be higher than 5. Indiana, and here's the weirdest thing about them all. Indiana got 14 first place votes. That's more than Notre Dame and Texas and Georgia. Well, it's equal. But it's more than Notre Dame and Texas, as I do my quick math here, combined. And yet they're sixth. They are the real feast or famine. Coaches either bought into them or they didn't. Or, you know what I think kind of happened with Indiana? And I don't necessarily mind this. To me, you're a champ until you get knocked off, right? I'm old school, the old boxing days. If you're going to get a decision out of a champion in a match, you better really beat the snot out of him, right? Anything close to being a tie, the champ stays the champ. And I got a feeling there's a lot of old school head coaches out there that just said, Indiana, you won last year. You know what? Until you lose or until we see you play a little bit, you're going to be number one. I got a feeling that's why they got 14 first place votes. And they only finished sixth, when they had more first place votes than Notre Dame, Texas, Georgia, and Oregon. So I got a feeling a lot of coaches had that philosophy. You know what? You finished last year number one. You deserve to be number one to start the following year. And I do think that's true. Even though college football year to year is completely different. New quarterback, new everything, right? I get all that stuff. They lost 1,000 people in the draft. But I don't care if they're the worst team. I don't care if they got to peak a high at every single position this year. If you win the championship last year, you deserve to be number one this year, at least for the first week. So they're sixth. Miami seventh. Texas A&M 8. Oklahoma 9. And then Ole Miss number 10. So when's the last time we had, I will say this about some of these newer teams, i.e., Ole Miss and Indiana. When's the last time we had a preseason top 10 that did not include Alabama, LSU, USC, Penn State, Clemson, and did I say Michigan? And Michigan. So no Alabama, no LSU, no USC, which isn't that big of a stretch, but no Michigan, no Penn State, and no Clemson. Those are consensus top 10 teams year in, year out, at least in my lifetime. So you got some fresh blood in there. You got A&M, which isn't there all the time. You got Ole Miss, which is never there. You got Indiana, which we're still not really used to, being in the top 10. So now how this all plays out and finishes up in the end, who knows? It doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. It's just, I'm surprised they still do it. And half the time these coaches don't. In fact, I would bet you, why not? I would bet you there's more straight women in the WNBA than there are coaches actually voting in the coaches poll. That's all you need to know. Like, these coaches don't do it, right? The sports information director, the SIDs do this for the most part. They just pass it along. Maybe they give some insight here, make sure we're voted number one, or make sure we're voted last, or whoever we're playing, make sure you vote them higher. Little things like that. But do you think Kirby Smart is actually sitting down analyzing all these college football teams like he's got all this time in his hand? No way. You think Ryan Day is worried about who's number one, number two, or number three? No, he's not. He's got too many things on his plate to be worried about whether his team is 1, 2, or 3. In a poll, that means absolutely nothing. It really does. It's up to the voters, at the end, the committee that makes the choices. Does it help to have have these coaches on your side? Maybe, but when everything is said and done, if they didn't vote on these things when it really did kind of count several years ago, they're clearly not voting on it now. Definitely not. So anyway, Ohio State, first poll is out. Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Georgia 3, Texas 3, and Notre Dame 4. Out of the top 25, are there any weird teams? No, not really. Missouri is 25. I'll go from 11 on down. Ole Miss is 10. Alabama 11. Texas Tech 12. LSU is only 13. A little surprised at that. USC 14. BYU 15. Michigan 16. Then Penn State, Tennessee, Washington, SMU, Utah, Iowa, Clemson, Houston, Missouri. So there's no who do I want to say thrown in? There's no Navy in there, or no Memphis in there, or No other little team that we, no Akron Zips that we know, no Air Force or not even Boise State this year. None of those Cinderella teams that we've seen in years past. So, but again, it's really for fun. We should have our own little poll. I normally do post something on the website, which I'll probably do again this year. My top 5 and top 15, or bottom 15 worst teams as well. So, baseball trade deadline comes and goes yesterday, right? So, here's some baseball winners and losers. And I thought there were more winners, but I thought the losers were more pronounced, if you will. The winners, I don't know how you can't like what Cleveland did, right? I mean, a team, and that's good. Good for the Guardians. They get the decent little outfitter Joe Adell from the LA Angels. Had 37 homers last year. He's having a down year this year with only 16, but that's still on pace for about 20 to 25 home runs. Angels with the fire sale yesterday, which we'll get to here in a second. So good for the Guards to pick him up. Get Foster Griffin from the Washington Nationals. Listen, I don't know. And again, we'll get to what Washington did here in a second. I'm not sure. He's a reclamation project that is really 30 plus years old. Just had this terrific and has a great season. Will be a free agent at the end of the year. So even if you're Cleveland and you're saying, well, this is just a 1-year blip, doesn't matter. You get him for the rest of this season into the postseason. If he does, great. If he doesn't, he walks away. If you want to re-sign him, go ahead. If you don't, then so be it. You got him for the rest of the year, which is kind of a screwed up year. So, but he's a terrific pitcher. He got 11 wins for a 500 baseball team. He was unbeatable this year for Washington. So I'm a little surprised with the Nationals. Then they get the Nathaniel Lowe, remember the former Devil Dog, 31 years old, 12 homers, bat 266, which again for 2026 really isn't that bad. So that they got 3 guys that they could pencil in, including the starting pitcher, but 3 guys that they're really going to use. I mean, that not just a backup or a reliever, that might get in there every once in a while. I mean, they got 2 guys that are going to be in the everyday lineup. And a starting pitcher that's clearly going to be at the top of the rotation. And, they gave up some prospects. Who knows? One thing I'll say about prospects, I don't believe any of it. I really don't. I told this story on the podcast before, and then when I was working over the 3-Letter Network. So we used to have a guy, Eddie, down in Port Charlotte. God bless Eddie, right? 70 plus, 80 years old. Used to go all the spring training games. And he sent me one year it's been a little while since we've been over there, about 6-7 years ago, right? And he sent me one of the Red Sox preseason books, and it listed all the prospects that they had, all the best prospects, single A, double A, triple A, right? And I remember opening up the book, and okay, let's read this. This will be fun. See who they got down the farm system. And I'm telling you, if there was one, there were 50 guys of all the greatest stats in the world. It's like a resume that they had a little column and then they had a paragraph or 2 on each player, right? And I'm telling you, they had 50 guys that you would have thought were going to be the next Carl Yastrzemski or Ted Williams. I mean, this guy was doing this in the minors and he was hitting this and he hit that, or he was pitching this or he was pitching that. I mean, you thought all these guys, like I said, were going to be the next Carl Yastrzemski or Cy Young. You're really like, oh my God, the farm system is loaded. I regret not holding on to that book to see how many really panned out. But the point is, they had literally about 50 guys. There were like 5 pages, 10 guys on a page of just the greatest prospect in the history of mankind. And obviously not all of them worked out. So that's why I say, you're not there. I don't care how closely you cover your team. You don't know. And I don't believe for a second that these teams really release their real ratings. Like I've seen on many of these trades, we'll use Cleveland here since we're talking Guardians, right? Oh, the Guardians gave up their number 3, their number 5, and their number 10 prospect. Well, who's making those rankings? MLB pipeline, where are they getting their information? Probably from the team itself. And I just don't believe the team is going to release that stuff. I don't. I think they promote guys that they know probably not really good. So we're going to bump them up the ladder. This way, if we want to make a trade, we could tell a team, hey, listen, you're getting our number 1, number 2, or number 3 prospect, when in reality, they know he's not going to pan out. And they'll keep a guy that's really high super low because they just don't want teams to know that that's their guy for whatever reason. More so to trade the higher ranked guys. So I don't believe these rankings. I really don't. And every team has a gazillion prospects. They do. Only the teams know if they're really quick or really have the attitude or the personality to persevere and be a major league player. So generally speaking, I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. You got to give up some good guys once in a while. Yeah, you do. But they're a dime a dozen. You draft 20 players every single year. Not to mention some other signings that you get overseas, international. They got 5 zillion prospects. So whatever you want, take them. I don't care. I'll just replace them tomorrow. So I like what the Guardians did. Believe it or not, I'll take what the Red Sox did. They get the catcher Adley Rutschman from the Orioles, former number 1 overall pick. As I told you yesterday, they never quite lived up to the billing. Again, supposedly they gave up 3 top 10 prospects, including a right-hander, which was 49th overall in the Major League Baseball analysis of everything. So, all right, we're not giving up a number 1 or number 2 prospect as far as Major League Baseball is concerned. Maybe one of the better ones for the Red Sox, but again, if they re-sign this guy, then it's well worth it, right? No big deal. They pick up the reliever from San Francisco, Eric Miller, another lefty, for Marcelo Mayer, who used to be, one of the absolute top Red Sox prospects just a few years ago, but in 2023 didn't pan out, and at somewhere along the line you cut bait. They have so many guys, again, same thing, that all right. This guy Miller has an ERA of 2.76, 38 games with San Francisco. Pitcher's ballpark, yes. You got 45 strikeouts. Got a lot of walks, 22. But you got somewhere along the line. You have to have faith in your general manager and in your front office. So the Red Sox front office deserves a little faith after what the players have done. So let's see what happens, and hopefully these guys pan out. Like what Toronto did, not sure if they're sellers or buyers, but they get rid of Gausman and Varsho and a reliever, but then they bring in Jose Soriano and Spencer Arrighetti from the Houston Astros. Kind of weird there, kind of an even trade-off, but I like the guys they got back versus the guys that they gave up. Love what the Phillies did with Louis Ariz from San Francisco. Boy, San Fran kind of cleaned house, didn't they? Bryce Harper's going to have to move back to right field, which might not be the greatest thing in the world, but, if he's willing to do it, okay. Doesn't mean he can't DH every once in a while. Louis is going to have to play the infield, not first base, so everyone else is going to have to shift. But I told you yesterday, the guy's hitting 340s, leading Major League Baseball in hitting by far. No one seems to want this guy. I don't get it. So I love what Philadelphia did from that standpoint. We talked about the Dodgers, so I won't go too crazy. Skubal does start tonight against the Cubbies, makes his Dodgers debut. And then the guy Bubik they picked up from Kansas City, he's still on the IR. They hope to get him back by the end of the season. So Dodgers did what the Dodgers did, right? And we'll talk about Detroit here in a second. And then the last one, I like what San Diego did. Get Casey Mize from Detroit for 2 prospects. All right, so the Tigers have cornered the market on prospects, right? So they're going to have the greatest, farm system in the history of baseball. Great. Go win your AAA and AA championships. And then they got Robbie Ray from San Francisco. So he's got an ERA of just over 1 in his last 8 starts. Got to be a free agent at the end of the year. Love picking up these guys because they want to continue to do well, cash that big fat paycheck at the end of the season. So, San Diego, teams that generally not necessarily don't, but teams in these spots generally don't make the moves. Like the Guardians are 500, game over 500. Yet they made moves that said win, 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 win. Padres are 3 games over 500, 11 back. Yet they made moves that said win, 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 win. With both those teams could have easily been sellers. I don't think necessarily getting in as a wild card is that enticing these days around Major League Baseball. So good to see those teams come through, and I like those moves. The loser, clearly the Detroit Tigers. You got prospects, mediocre prospects from the Dodgers we talked about yesterday. And who knows what they got for Casey Mize, but just who cares? You're not the Tampa Bay Devil Dogs. You're not the Florida Marlins or the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, you're the Detroit Tigers. Your owner is a billionaire, a Little Caesars owner. You got money to spend, and they act like they're just, poor. Here's their president, Scott Harris. And this is where we completely disagree. Here was his quote. They were asking him about, the people you got, and could you have waited a little bit longer and maybe get a little bit more? He says, players like Tariq Skubal, markets at the deadline for top players are just different than the rest of the market. So I understand the thinking, hey, you're supposed to wait until the very last second to get a deal, then pull a trigger at the very last second to maximize a return. He says that's not how markets work for top players. He further adds, the organizations that were involved, meaning talking to them about the trade, were extremely aggressive, and they put in what I believe to be their max offers. And then when they added to those offers also, it got to the point of almost audible pain when they actually produced their best bold offers. And they gave it to us, and we pulled the trigger. The notion that we should have waited 24, 48 hours to get a better deal, that's garbage. That's not how these negotiations work. I hate to break it to you, Scott, but yeah, that is how these negotiations work. What's the difference if you're trading a top player versus a mediocre player? It's the mediocre player that the other team can walk away from and say, listen, there's 5,000 guys hitting 250 or 500 pitchers. We don't have to trade for your guy. We can go call up another team and go trade for the same basic player from one other team. That's when you pull the trigger, when you got a deal that this may leave because they may go to, another team and go get their 500 pitcher. So let's pull the trigger right now. You don't wait for those guys. You do wait for the Tariq Skubals of the world because he's the best guy on the market. It's why when you have two free agents and one guy trying to outweights the other because he knows as soon as that first guy signs, the other guy is going to sign for $1 or $2 more. That's just how it works. So they hold, they wait and see who, basically folds first. And when you don't have another Skubal on the market, and there wasn't, you can wait until there's 5 seconds left. This guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, clearly he doesn't know what he's doing. You're not going to get your best deal. I don't care what you giving you was garbage. And you got three mediocre prospects. One dude's 28 years old. Another guy is just way down the line. And you got really one dude. And as I told you yesterday, you could have held on to Skubal and got a first-round pick, a compensatory pick if you would have lost him at the end of the first round. So you should have been throwing that back in the faces of these other GMs. Instead, you're feeling sorry for them. Like you got some great. I would like to know what offers were so painful for these GMs. Oh, man, we got to give up our 20th prospect. Oh, and you want another prospect on top of that? Really? Oh, I can't do it there, Scott. Oh, I'd really love to. But I know we're talking about the guy who just won the Cy Young. But, man, I just can't give up my 15th best prospect. I mean, is that what you're doing? You got to get in a better field then, brother. I hate to tell you, you're not a good salesman. You got to be a great salesman to be a GM. If you can't get more than what they got, and you talk to several other teams, then you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to play one team against the other. You're not a good salesperson. Why he's handling it, not the GM. Maybe he's the boss of everything, kind of like a Dave Dombrowski thing. But you got to get somebody in control of that. You got to tell your people, all right, we're trading Skubal. So I'm not going to get involved because I'm an idiot, so I don't have to talk to these people. I feel sorry for the other team. I want to help the other team out more than I want to help us out. So you guys handle it, and then let me know at the end of the day what's our best offer. That's how they should have done it. You don't trade a guy with a day and a half left when you're getting a lousy deal. I mean, it makes just no sense. It really does. It makes, if they're getting 1, 2, 3 top prospects from the Dodgers, and you're kind of afraid that, maybe the Dodgers will rethink things and change their mind, then you go ahead and bite, But when you got a day and a half left of the trade deadline and they're offering you garbage, it's stupid. Man, it's another example. We talk about this on the podcast all the time. You like to think people in higher positions of authority are smarter than you. They're not. They're not. Sometimes they're just too close to the situation. They need to take a step back and say, wow, you're right. I didn't have to make this move. What are we really giving up? I got a 28-year-old pitcher who's a lifetime minor leaguer. I got a guy who's ranked around 50th, and I got one halfway decent guy. That's it. Well, I don't need to, jump the gun for that deal. Stupid is, stupid does, right? So, all right, quick little break. A lot more baseball. We got our NFL over-under trends to get to. President Trump, we got a clip from him. Falcons make some news today. Baltimore does the same. Will the Detroit Lions? A little bit from Vince Young, a little bit from Troy Aikman as well. And again, our NFL over-under. All coming up just underway. Scott Wetzel Show right here on a Tuesday afternoon on FanStream Sports.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream. FanStreamSports.com.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka. Named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go!
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is a terrific Tuesday, hour number one of our 2-hour extravaganza right here on FanStreamSports.com. The Scott Wetzel Show until 3:30, 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Just going over some of the baseball stuff. We get all our viewers in before we get into some NFL. So just winners and losers. So the winners we thought yesterday, this in addition to the college football poll that came out. Notre Dame only number 5, the big surprise for me. But winners baseball trade deadline. It is amazing, I will say, how baseball gets completely over. As the days go by and we get closer and closer, we got our first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game coming up here. It's like a transformation of how football just takes over. I love baseball, grew up on baseball, going to all the games and playing baseball, obviously, right? But it is kind of sad how football just overwhelms everything, just absolutely everything. But I've always said baseball should be getting ready to start their postseason. The fact that we still have 45, 50 games left, it's always been stupid. It really has. Why do they do it? I've explained this many times. I mean, think about how long baseball's been around, right? Baseball started in the 1800s, right? Let's just say 1900 to be okay, baseball, right? So what was around in 1900? Was there basketball? No. Was there football? No. Was there hockey? No. There was horse racing, boxing, and baseball. That's it. It wasn't even baseball on the West Coast. It was baseball basically on the East Coast. Little Chicago, little Midwest, right? So what did they do? They said, all right, when's the earliest on the East Coast could we really start playing baseball? Probably around April or so. It might be a little cold for a week or so, but right around April. All right. When's the latest we could go without it being too cold? Probably the end of September. Starts getting cold in October. We have some postseason October, I suppose, but end of September. Bingo. There you go. There's our play. There's our baseball season. April 1st, basically, to September 30th, basically, because there was nothing else going on. If there was football, if there was hockey, if there was NBA like we have now, I think if we started all these leagues all over again, I think baseball would say, all right, let's end the regular season August 30th and then, start our playoffs. And we're going to go, we basically have to go head to head with football somewhere along the line. At least let's go head to head with our best thing, our postseason. And it doesn't have to necessarily be every single market. And that's really what they should do. But, like I said, when they started baseball 130 years ago, there's nothing else going on. So they went weather-wise the longest they could possibly go. Remember, no night games or anything along those lines either. So way back when. But nowadays, it's outdated. You don't need 162 games. It's idiotic. Forget about 156 when they had that. You need about 130 games. That's it. Whack the entire month of September off the regular season schedule. And this would have been the perfect year because whereas college football starts the end of August, the NFL doesn't start until September 13th. That's the first full Sunday. So you could have had a good week of your postseason in September, without the NFL. But knowing you have, like I said, 50 or so games left, the season is way too long, just way too long. So what got me into that? I don't know. I forget. So anyway, we're talking a little baseball, but I know the phone lines, as they used to say, would light up if we start talking NFL. But baseball, even trade deadlines, whatever. So we like what Cleveland did. We like what Boston did. We like what Toronto did, and we like what Philadelphia and the Dodgers and San Diego. The losers, as we talked about, Detroit Tigers. Also lost yesterday, even though it wasn't necessarily because of a trade they made. It's because of a trade they didn't make. And that's the Milwaukee Brewers, man. So disappointed. I have a ticket on them. I got a month or so ago, pretty fat price. It's over 10-1. I forget exactly what it is. They were clearly in the running for Tariq Skubal. Read some articles on it. That they didn't want to give up their top prospects, blah, 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 the same old thing. And instead, they get Dustin May from the Cardinals. He sucks. And JoJo Romero, a reliever, he's not even playing. He's got issues. He had an appendectomy. They don't know when he's going to come back for a few more weeks. So you did nothing. Not only didn't you get Skubal went to the team you're going to be battling theoretically to get into the World Series. It was a double loss. Really disappointed. Forget my ticket on them to win it all. But if you're the Milwaukee Brewers, you got to take this chance. You just have to. I say it all the time, and it is 100% true. General managers, almost no matter what the sport, not that they don't care about winning a championship. Their goal, though, is to be successful. If a championship comes with that, great. But are we going to go the extra mile to win a championship and risk being successful a couple of years down the line? No, we're not. We're not going to. We're not going to give up our top 2, 3, 4, whatever prospects in order to get Skubal, who'll help us win this season and probably leave, at the end of the year. Not going to do it. Why not? Well, because, I'll lose my job. If we go get Skubal, and even if we do win, 3 years from now, when we're back to being a less than 500 team, they're going to be calling for my job. Or we can finish with the second, third best record in the baseball, get knocked out in the second or third round, and sell 1,000 season, gazillion season tickets for next year. I get to keep my job. I get to have all these prospects we held on to come up through the system and keep us at that pretty good level. And I continue to keep my pretty good salary, and that's how it goes. That's what they're concerned with. If there was a bonus or a locked-in, I win a World Series, I get a guaranteed 10-year contract, then it would change everything with these GMs. Whether it's the Brewers, whether it's the Green Bay Packers, we've seen over the years in the NFL, it's all the same thing. That's not their main concern. Their main concern is making sure we continue to have good players to keep us good. And if we win, great, but that's not my goal. I'm not sacrificing being good for the next 5 years so we can win one. And that's why when you hear teams like the Dodgers or other teams and people talk about their owners, that owner wants to win, that's what you're talking about. Give it the okay. Don't worry about the prospect. Get the deal done. Get the guy in here. And if anything else, you have to at least appreciate that with the LA Dodgers. So I thought Milwaukee really dropped the ball. Man, you got the second best record in baseball. Maybe not baseball. Let me see. Is it national? I know it's National League. 69. Yeah, in baseball. They got the second best record in baseball. You got a chance to get the best pitcher for a couple of months and in the postseason. To give up a couple of prospects you don't even know are going to be any good or not. And you're going to pass that up knowing that if you pass that up, he's going to your cheap competition. These teams just don't want to win. That's why I don't have zero sympathy, 2 months from now when the baseball season ends and there's a lockout and the owners scream about not making enough money and this and that. You know what? I don't care. Too bad. Because you don't care about winning anyway. Here's a system where it's an even. Money's got basically nothing to do with this. It's all about who wants to give up the prospects. And you're telling the world, and Tampa Bay's telling the world, and all the other teams that are telling the world that they don't care about winning. So what do I care about you having to spend some money? Stupid. I don't know what Washington did either yesterday. They're not a small market team. They won a World Series, not that long ago. They can spend some money. They had a couple of guys on 1-year contracts that were, they took some flyers on and they panned out. So instead of believing in them, they said, nah, you know what? I don't think it's going to work. Foster Griffin, boy, we got him off the scrap heap. I know the dude's got a 3 ERA. He's pitching great. He's got half of our wins, but let's get rid of him because we don't believe in him. Luis Garcia, same thing. You know what? Picked him up off the scrap heap. I know he's having a terrific season, but we don't really believe in him. Let's get rid of him and let's bring in some more prospects. More prospects. Prospects. Oh, they just love for these prospects. You got 2 guys that are having terrific years. You're having a good season. You're only, meaning the Nationals, what are they, 2 games? I know that they've fallen back here a little bit, but they're within striking distance of a wild card spot in the National League, which for them is great. They are, I want to give you the exact number, 5.5 back. So they've lost 6 in a row, so it is sliding a little bit. But still, that for the Washington Nationals, If you would have told them at the beginning of the year, come August 4th, you would be only 5.5 back of their last wild card spot, they would have signed up for that in a heartbeat. So let's keep this thing going. Let's keep it rolling. And why would we want to, sign these guys? So I don't know what they did. And then the biggest loser is Mike Trout. I won't even say the Angels. I'll just say Mike Trout. I mean, the most overrated player in the history of sports. He's staying put, and all the supposed talk. And I didn't really think they were going to be able to trade him unless the Angels really ate a lot of his contract because he's owed a lot of money. He's not any good. I won't say he never was. How much more money? I think he's got 4 years. Let me, I'll double check for you. Mike Trout's contract. I think it's 4 years still left on his deal. Spotrac is the place. Signed a ridiculous, 12-year, gazillion-dollar contract. He's got 4 more years at $37 million. Is the team going to sign for him? A straight trade where, they would pick up his entire salary? No. Who's picking up $37 million a year for the next 4 years after this year? And that doesn't even include this year. After this year, for a guy who, one, can't stay healthy anymore. Simple as that. It's been a couple of seasons. He's hitting .245 with 18 home runs. The home run's fine, but the batting average sucks. His batting average last year was awful, .232. It was .220 before that. It was .263 before that. His last 4 years, he's played 82, 29, 130, and on pace for about 130 games again this year. So it just, he's no longer the Mike Trout who people, are used to. And even that Mike Trout wasn't any good. But I can't help but somewhere along the line, I mean, the Angels are now going absolutely nowhere. They got rid of every decent player they had. So if you're Mike Trout, you don't go to the organization and say, listen, move me, do something, do me a favor, right? I gave you everything I had my whole career. I could have left here several times. I didn't. I stuck this thing out. Do me a favor, eat half of my contract, take 2 years off. You pay the $74 million. I'm sure some other team would pay me $74 million over 4 years. Maybe they wouldn't. Who knows? But didn't even do that. He's going to be an LA Angel his entire career. He's never going to snip the postseason. Forget about winning the World Series. You trade away Jose Soriano. You trade away Odell. You trade away this guy. You trade away that. They traded away 5-6 guys yesterday. They're going to be awful. And there's dopey Mike Trout, just sitting there. Should have never re-signed. Should have never re-signed. So that's the baseball story yesterday. A lot of moves, some decent name players. Nothing crazy, but a lot of teams helped themselves. A lot of teams made some moves. You got to kind of reshuffle the lineup here a little bit. Some of the decent name players outside of Skubal, Rauschman and a couple of pitchers there, Griffin and Garcia. But, ultimately, I don't know. Maybe Cleveland would be the one where they're okay. What they did, that's going to change their fortunes around a little bit. So, President Trump, this just shows how people are stupid. So, Trump's holding a little press conference yesterday, right? And some mope asked him about the Washington Nationals.
Complex for me. Yeah, please. In the
What
back.
did you think of the Nationals trading Luis Garcia to the Yankees? And do you think Brian
Which
Cashman,
what?
Luis
Yeah,
Garcia
why?
from the Washington Nationals to the New York Yankees? You're New York Yankees. And what do you think of the job Brian Cashman's doing?
Well, I've known Brian Cashman for a long time. Look, he's done a good job. I think Randy Levine is great. He's a great executive. And by the way, the NIL or whatever it is.
This is why I want to play it.
Is very close to getting solved, college sports.
Really?
And Randy Levine and Nick Saban and a whole group of people have done an unbelievable job. That was a case that should have been appealed by the NCAA, and they never appealed it.
Yeah, there you go. That's why I wanted to play that. Well, 2 reasons why. One, you're holding a press conference with the President of the United States. We got wars all over the world. We're paying $5 a gallon for gasoline, and you're going to ask him about a dopey Washington Nationals Luis Garcia trade? Really? It's kind of like, when people ask you, that goofy little question, if you could have dinner with 3 people, who would it be, dead or alive, right? You got a chance to ask the President of the United States any question. What's it going to be? You got to ask about Iran. You got to ask about Iraq, Israel, prices, Clinton, Biden, Obama, whatever. What are you going to ask? Can I ask him about the Luis Garcia Nationals trade to the Yankees? What are you, a dope? I mean, you got the president at your disposal, and he gave him an out, which was a good thing, because I don't know what he would have responded to Luis Garcia, because I highly, highly doubt he knows who Luis Garcia is, and I don't blame him, right? Most baseball fans don't. But then he gave an out with the Cashman thing and the Yankees. So what an idiot. But anyway, the other thing he pointed out was the NIL stuff. Now, he said again that, well, I'll let you play it. We'll play it again.
Yeah, please. In the back.
About it. It's close to being resolved. I don't know about that.
Luis Garcia from the Washington Nationals to the New York Yankees. And what do you think of the job Brian Cashman's doing?
Well, I've known Brian Cashman for a long time. Look, he's done a good job. I think Randy Levine is great. He's a great executive. And by the way, the NIL or whatever it is very close to getting solved, college sports. And Randy Levine.
All right. Pretty close to getting solved. And then he said later on, as we heard, that they should have appealed that. Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. We brought this up yesterday with this female dopey judge who's just opening the Pandora's box to just troubles, typical female. I don't know why they didn't appeal that. For some reason, I thought they could. Supreme Court. Can you appeal the Supreme Court decision? I mean, I don't know. I guess you can. But the NIL deal is close to being resolved. What does that mean? Does that mean it's going away? Does that mean there's going to be limitations on it? Does that mean, that there's going to be free reign, do whatever the hell you want? I don't think it means that, because I don't think he's pro NIL. But, yeah, I mean, at least we got, as it turned out, the stupid question actually produced some from material for us. So maybe, just maybe the NIL stuff, it's not going away anytime soon, but at least we can have some limits on it. Just at least put some rules and regulations onto some of this stuff. Maybe that's what he's referring to. I don't know. Football-wise, NFL. So we got two signings today. One, Falcons running back B.J. Robinson gets a 3-year deal worth $75 million. Boy, just a couple of years ago, you could have made more money working overnights at 7-Eleven than you could as an NFL running back. But it's taken a couple of years, but they're going up. They are going up. $25 million a year. Saquon Barkley was the highest before this at $20.5 or so million a year. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, who, is him and Robinson both holding out. So he's, I'm thinking, like I said earlier, they both played, dare. Which one signs first? Now Robinson signs, hey, listen, $25 million a year for 3 years, $51 million guaranteed. Not bad, right? I guarantee, absolutely, you mark it down right now on a Tuesday at 2:53 p.m. Jahmyr Gibbs will sign for more money than $75 million. Or we'll get more guaranteed money, which is $51 million. Somewhere along the line, he has to outdo Bijan Robinson. Simple as that. That's how this stuff works. So Robinson's in camp, and Gibbs we're holding out on. And then Baltimore signed Zay Flowers. This is not a bad contract. Look, this is how it should be, right? Because as I told you, Gibbs is going to set the market again. There's no two ways about it. I have no doubt about that. Whereas Zay Flowers, pretty good wide receiver, right? He's got Lamar throwing him the football, signs a 4-year, $140 million extension. $108 million guaranteed. These guarantees are going up there. They really are, boy. That $35 million average a year ties him with Justin Jefferson for 4th highest in the NFL. So he did not reset the market, and nor should he. He's a good wide receiver. I would take him on my team, but is he as good as CD Lamb or, I'm not a big Justin Jefferson fan, so I'd probably rather have Zay Flowers, to tell you the truth. But is some of these guys? No, he's not as good as them. So he should not be, the number one wide receiver paid wise in the NFL. Jackson Smith-Njigba from Seattle is now the number one guy at $42 million. He's not as good as him. Jamar Chase at $40 million. He's certainly not as good as him. Drake London, $35 million. Okay. He's kind of in that category, which is what he got, $35 million. Jefferson, $35 million, and then CeeDee Lamb. Dallas actually got on the cheap at $34 million a year. But, it's just That's how these things should work. Give me a decent price. I'm one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. I don't need to be the number one guy. So let's go, let's go relatively low. Dare we say that at $35 million a year. So we'll see end up what Gibbs gets. I was just going through the old Twitter wire here, right? And speaking of NFL players, as we go down memory lane here, this is one guy that, boy, I tell you what, he was terrific in college. He was as good. Maybe he came into the NFL just a couple of years too soon for his quarterback style. But it is kind of a mystery to me on how some of these guys don't pan out. And one of them was Vince Young.
It's fun, man. I enjoy it because I didn't have my dad around, so I had to depend on coaches and my uncles and things like that to take like similarities that I liked that was in them that they was engraved in being an uncle or dad. And then now, like me, I don't get involved with the coaching stuff. I help out. I go throw the ball to him and point out little small things that I feel like he can fix. Me, I'm more so is like loving him. Man, I'm proud of you, son. Like, I'm a fan. Like, everybody know at Kincaid, man, they know I'm the first one in the damn stand. Yeah. Ready to go. Like, shit, I'm finna watch my son, man. He took a 99-yard touchdown to the kickoff return back of the day. I'm like excited about it, you know what I'm saying? I'm just proud of him and my daughters, man. They good kids. Like TJ said, they have their ups and downs, man. And it's for us to be there. Like, TJ dad was there, you know what I mean? Like, I was like a kid that, damn, I want my dad around. But he was in and out of jail, he wasn't there. So I had my mom and them there, I had to depend on guys like TJ's dad and my other teammates' dad to talk to tell me they was proud of me, you know what I mean? So I know that feeling. So when I'm around my kids, man, I want them to know, like, I love you. Like, I'm not on your ass. I'm letting you know, like, what you can do better. I'm not yelling at you. I'm not doing none of that. We all make mistakes. We all do this.
All right, that's the gist of it. He goes on to talk more about stuff like that. But, I wanted to play it more just to kind of bring him up and just, I don't, he had that incident, we had the gun in the car and people thought he was committing suicide. And then that was just a mistake. His mother got involved and everything else. But, that Texas team was phenomenal. The game against USC in the championship game was great. One of the best college football championship games there was. And, man, he had stardom written all over. Really did. Could throw the football 1.5 miles. Was as quick can be. Going to be the next Michael Vick or the next, Randall Cunningham taking a step further, right? And it just took Tennessee to the playoffs 1 year. He was only in the league like 3, 4, maybe 5 years. I had to look up the stats, but it just I don't know if he was just too young, too dumb, young and dumb, the combination, couldn't deal with all the stardom. I don't know, but man, it can't be the pressure because he played down at Texas. You can't have any more pressure than what you have at Texas, right? For college football. So yeah, he was one of those just kind of a mystery here. How about another little memory lane with Troy Aikman?
Taking all that seriously at first. Did you think it was something you'd do for a little while and just get out, or?
Yeah, I thought, I had a young family, and I thought that I would do it for a couple of years, and then I'd move on to something else. And that something else I always thought would be working in a front office. I never thought it would be the Cowboys just because I knew their structure. Mm-hmm. But I did think that I would get involved with an organization, and I did have my sights set on being an executive. And but then the broadcasting took control of my life. My personal circumstances changed. I needed to be home with my girls as then I became a single father, and broadcasting was the perfect job for that, to be home during the week and be able to drive them to school and pick them up and be there for them except for on weekends, and then have the whole off season with them. Then I knew, okay, well, I can't pursue this other thing until they get out of high school, which was going to be 10 years down the road.
All right, so I play that just because he retired in 2000. I was working at One-on-One Sports / Sport News Radio at the time, right? And he came on board. I did not host his show, but one of his, and I think it was the first show he did, in media, was hosting a 1 hour, hour and a half weekly NFL preview show, right? And I'll never forget, he did it from his home. So he didn't come in studio. We were located in Illinois, basically Chicago, just north of Chicago. And so he would come on 1 hour and a half once a week on Fridays and do his little show, right? So my producer, or one of the producers there, and I'll leave them unnamed. So and another guy would have to go down to Texas and help him out with all the equipment. It's not like now you can just log on to a website, right? This is 26 years ago. And I'll never forget when they would come home. One of the guys would say, man, he's as dumb as a box of rocks. He couldn't spell cat, Scott, if you spotted him, the C and the T. I mean, the concussions over the years have just made him like, even when you heard him speak, it was like, what is he saying? What's he trying to say? I mean, it was bad. He was that concussed from playing football. Now he's terrific. He's gotten over it, and I like him. I think he does a great job. I really do. He's gotten so much better over the years. But those first couple, I think he did it for like 2 years. He was making, him and Parcells used to do it. They made $1 million a show. $1 million freaking dollars a show. For a season, not a show, a season. $1 million a season they were making. And he couldn't spell cat if he spotted the C and the T. So, but he's gotten obviously a lot better, and he does a good job. Like I said, I do like him, but playing those years in the NFL, as we saw with Tony Romo in that little video, right? It does take its toll. That is for sure. All right, quick little break here. We are rolling. How about some NFL over/under totals? We'll get to that. We got the to get to. Little women's tennis getting involved. How about that? Women's tennis doing the right thing. And our proverbial, we'll leave you with this. All that coming up, and bad news for college football fans as well. All that's coming up right here on the Scott Wetzel Show on a Tuesday afternoon.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the J.P. Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream. fanstreamsports.com.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka. named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tom's Town, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza right here on FanStreamSports.com on a Tuesday, 6 minutes past 3 p.m. Eastern Time. A lot to get to still. Hour number 2, including NFL official look at some over-unders. We'll run down every single team. Every single one has a half. So you got to go over or under. Some we like a little bit more than others. We'll specify that. We got some tennis WNBA news. Of course, we got to have a WNBA rip every single day. Well, that's keeping them in the news, which for them is pretty darn good, right? Some sad news, not death sad news to start off hour number 2. We had the college football playoff, the coaches poll rather, come out week number 1. So they got Ohio State number 1. They got Indiana 6, Notre Dame 5. 2 teams ranked in the top 10. Wow, they're in the same state, Indiana. You think for sure they're going to be playing football, right? Somewhere along the line, especially now. They have so many more teams getting into the football playoffs. You don't have to worry about losses. And what does the New York Times report today? That Indiana, really yesterday, late last night, requested that the home-and-home series against Notre Dame be canceled. So Notre Dame does get to renew its rivalry with USC, but USC is old school. Listen, I'm as big a Notre Dame fan as there is. USC Notre Dame was never on the same level as, like, picking Ohio State, Michigan, Auburn, Alabama, hell, Clemson, South Carolina. I mean, it just wasn't, back in O.J. Simpson days, you want to go back 40 years ago? Yeah. But over the last, 10, 15 years, it was just another game on Notre Dame's schedule. It really wasn't that big a deal. So if you have a chance to face your in-state rival, Indiana, which is now a good football team, well, why would you want to cancel that, Indiana? And the dopey Kurt, I shouldn't say dopey because I like him, but Kurt Cignetti, basically said, the Big Ten is hard enough as it is, so why play non-conference games that are, making it even that much harder? Which is really such a piss-poor attitude to have. That is a surprising quote. And then those were basically his words, right? Paraphrasing. The Big Ten is hard enough as it is, so why make your non-conference schedule be any more difficult than it needs to be? But for a guy who preaches, come beat us, we're the best, I don't care what you say, we're the champs, so do whatever it takes, but, we're the champs. Why would he have that defeatist attitude? And it shows. That he can sit there and say, well, whoever the GM puts on our, whoever the AD puts on our schedule, we're going to play. But don't think for a second that this guy doesn't have a major voice on who they're playing. I mean, look at their non-schedule this year. North Texas, Howard, and Western Kentucky. I mean, he was actually yesterday trying to make a case that those are good football teams. Are you serious, Coach? You're a national championship team. That might be a good schedule for Indiana football 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, but not anymore. You've elevated this program. You past that now. Now you got to play the big boys, and that's his non-conference schedule. Next year, do they listen next year? They don't listen next year. But they're getting rid of all the good teams because he thinks the Big Ten is so great. Really? I mean, it's top heavy. You can make the case the Big Ten sucks. If you really want to go head to head, not take into account Ohio State and Oregon and Indiana are super, super, super good. But if you just wanted to play, there how many teams in the Big Ten now? 13 teams, 14 teams, whatever it is. And you played 14 teams out of the SEC, you would lose more than win. If you did the same thing in the Big 12, you would lose more than you would win. You'd probably win more in the ACC, but that's it. Out of the other, two conferences, you would lose more. The Big Ten is, I don't know what you're getting out of Penn State anymore. It could fall off the map. I kind of doubt it, but you never know without what's-his-face being there. Nebraska keeps on thinking they're the part of the Big Ten, but they haven't shown it on the football field. What's happening with Michigan? Don't know. USC is stuck in mud. UCLA stinks. Washington had their 15 minutes of fame. Ohio State, Minnesota, Northwestern, they all suck. Rutgers, Maryland. Where's the Big Ten being so great outside of the top 3, 4, 5 teams? So, as a Notre Dame fan, listen, I know their schedule is not great this year, but don't blame Notre Dame. They're trying. They're trying, but all these other teams are canceling. The importance of, playing 9 now conference games, they don't want to play, even though you can lose 2, maybe even 3 times now and get into a college football playoff spot. But these teams don't want to do it. It is amazing. Boston College, you see the story last night? They fired their radio basketball play-by-play duo. So what, Scott? Well, they've been there. One guy had been there 13 seasons. The other guy, 9 years. The one guy, Kevin Collins, who had been there 13 years, survived 3 head coaches and 5 athletic directors. I mean, it's basketball play-by-play. So what, right? So they fired the basketball coach last year. They bring in a new head coach, Luke Murray. He was an assistant last year at UConn. And you know how UConn is, right? Anal and goofy as they are with, Dan Hurley. So Murray apparently comes in and says everything to do with last year's team and last year's coach, last year's regime, out the window they go. All right, we'll fire the assistants and we'll fire the ball boys and then we'll fire the statisticians, I suppose, coach, if you want. But okay, we cleaned house. You're all set. Well, what about the broadcast announcers? Well, they're radio broad. Well, who cares? What do you care about that? Fire them also. Why? Because they were here last year. Yeah, but they had nothing to do with the program. Fire them anyway. Get rid of them. So they did. Now, the AD, Blake James, now I got my Boston College shirt on. My daughter went there. So, said the decision to not renew the contracts of our men's basketball radio announcers was made by Boston College athletics administrators in consultation with our MMR partner, the one that broadcasts the games. Yeah, okay. Nobody believes that. After 13 years, you decided this guy isn't any good as a broadcaster anymore? Really? Boy, what a bad look. What an awful look for this. Well, why would you do that if you're the new head coach? Really? Like the broadcasters are going to make a difference on how well you play or how well you coach? Well, you want to get rid of assistants? Okay. You want to get rid of some statisticians for some dopey reason? Okay. But to get rid of the broadcasters? Why would you bring that bad look upon yourself? That's got all the earmarks of a head coach who's a head coach for the first time and just thinks he's going to be able to run things like Danny Hurley does. That's just wrong, right? Maybe just an industry thing, but these guys, I don't know how much money they're making. They're probably not full-time jobs, right? Typical, job in the radio industry. Been there for over 10 years, 13 years, and you come in as a head coach and you have the ability to fire these guys. Like the school can't just say no. How about the school just putting their foot down saying, no, coach, you know what? You want to bring in your own assistant coaches? You want to bring your own statisticians? You want to bring your own whatever? Go ahead, but you're not firing the broadcast team. Sorry. Unless they, said something or did something stupid, but I don't think that really was the case. So pretty weak. Really, that's pretty weak. When you see and hear stuff like that, right? Doesn't make any sense. Really doesn't. All right, how about some NFL? Oh, actually, you know what? One more thing. We'll get the NFL thing. One more. We got to get our WNBA stuff out of the way. So, Remember this? We got the whole. There's so many little, goofy stories with the WNBA. Sadly, none of them are about on the court. Really, it is sad. You can list 5 things going on in the WNBA, and like none of them are how well the women are playing. It really is sad, right? And I don't mind the WNBA. I really don't. So the latest big story, the Sophie Cunningham comments. As most normal human beings agree that, biological male men should not be allowed to play women's sports. I really, you don't have to be woke, anti-woke, right wing, left wing, white, black, Jewish, Christian, whatever the case may be. You really don't need any of that. It's common sense. It really is just common sense. So it is nice to hear somebody actually not be afraid outside of Cunningham to actually offer up common sense.
The WTA recently announced that the players will take a one-time gender test. How do you feel about that? The first pro league to go in that direction.
I think it's really important to keep the fairness in our tour, and it's obvious that biologically, right, the men are way stronger than women. So I feel like it would be not really fair for the women to compete against biological men. So I believe it took them a little while to make this decision, and I support it. But for me, I'm focusing on myself, on my goals, whatever it takes. If they want to test us all, I'm happy to do that. It's pretty fair, and let's keep it that way.
There you go. Common sense, right? Not putting that. That's Arina Sabalenka on the women's tennis tour, who, as you heard, they're going to have blood testing to make sure that you're actually a woman, right? I'm just common sense, just not putting anybody down, not throwing them away, not saying they should be thrown in jail, castrated, whatever they can. Just like you're a male, and you're stronger than a woman. It is what it is. It just biological fact. Just nice every once in a while to play something that's not like outlandishly stupid or, oh, God forbid we should say something that's anti-woke. Oh my God, we're going to lose our jobs. And people do fear that stuff. I mean, listen, that is a reality. You got to be careful about what you say, right? On the other hand, remember Cheryl Reeve, the WNBA coach who wore the Trans Kids Belong jersey the other day? And then, talking about how she doesn't want to exclude anybody and everyone is equal. And that's her big thing. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are, how you sound, where you live, whatever the case may be. You all should get a shot in the WNBA, right? Okay. Well, you're careful about what you say because someone dug up a little details of her talking about men's coaches in the WNBA. The point she was making, though, is that there are too many men in the WNBA now. The same woman 2 days ago, literally, who's telling the world that men pretending to be women are okay to play in their league, that it's politically correct and all the other woke stuff. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But Breitbart News, good job by them, dug this up from last year, I guess it was. And her talking about, women losing jobs to men coaching wise. Somehow that, so pretending you're a woman, I guess if you are a man pretending to be a woman, then it's okay to be a head coach in the WNBA. If you're a man pretending to be a woman, it's okay to be a player in the WNBA. But if you're just a man who's just a man, well, then you're excluded. So much for no more excluding people. What a dopey league. Really, what an absolutely dopey league. We got to, you got to get back to normal. And WNBA normal for most people, God bless her, is so. Yes. That's what we need more of. That's our proverbial Sophie Cunningham. We got to have a clip of her every single day. And we will. So. How about some NFL stuff? Back to NFL, Scott. All right, here we go. We put this off for a little bit. So over and unders NFL, our first real kind of look here on the Scott Wetzel Show. I got an over and under for every single team. Some I like a little bit more. We'll point those out. Some I like a little bit less. And then we'll kind of see. We'll keep these. We'll follow this along and see if the numbers change. And these numbers do change. So, if you hear what I say and you like it, then I would hop on this because the numbers definitely do change. I have more overs than I have unders. which probably is the norm. I think most people think, okay, we're going to get a win here versus this team is going to lose, even though it's obviously got to balance itself out. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8 overs, which are basically just a half a game over that I wouldn't necessarily play. But if you had to, this is the way I would go. I do like Atlanta. Them signing Robinson today certainly helps the cause. I had them, what I did was looked at their schedule, the notes and everything I laid out, and then looked at their schedule and figured out how many wins before I knew their over-under. And then I would write, okay, how many wins do I think this team is going to get? And then when I was done with that, then I would go to the books, get the over-number total, and then just say, okay, I think Atlanta's going to win 7 games. Their number is 6.5, so I'm going over Atlanta. Simple as that, right? Don't let the number influence. And that's probably the best way to do it. Try not to look at the number before you look at the team. Look at the team, figure out how many wins you think they're going to get, and you can like 7 or 8. I've done that with a couple teams. Then you go look at the number, and if the number is a couple of games off, then those are the teams you really should pounce on, right? So Atlanta would be 1 over. I got them winning 7 games, and really 7 or 8. I'm going to go over Chicago. I know a lot of people think they're going to regress, but I got them winning 10 games. Their over-under is 9.5. Not a great difference, but if you had to, it would be over 10. I'm not a big Caleb Williams fan. I got to see him do it again. But this is year number 3, not year number 2, where sometimes you get the regression or the injuries. So, 10-7 for a Bears team, that was right there last year. I mean, they were as good could be at the end of the year, but they did have a lot of wins, 6 wins in the final 2 minutes of play. That, you generally don't do that year in, year out. But I still think I had them down for 10. The number is 9.5. Over Cleveland, believe it or not. The number was only 5.5. I had them winning 6 games. It's 6-11. Whether it's Deshaun Watson, whether it's Sanders, whether it's Dylan Gabriel, the AFC North isn't what it used to be. Don't know what we're going to get out of Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, they don't play against themselves, but you got Baltimore and Cincinnati pretty good. Their schedule is not daunting, though. Getting 6 wins is not the end of the world. New head coach and everything else. I got over New England too. I know most people think they're going to really come back to the pack this year, and I do, and they were a benefit of their schedule last year, but their over-under is 10.5. They play the Jets and Dolphins 4 times. That's 4 wins right there, right? Can they get to 11-6? I think they can. Knowing they got a 4-0 head start to that, I think so. For a first place schedule, they got some of the, Cinderella first place teams. It's not that bad. I think they get to 11 wins despite all the nonsense off the field. Small little play. Over New Orleans, I got them between 7 and 8 wins, and their over under is 7.5. Again, nothing major on these. I just, Tyler Shuck, played well at the end of the year. Their schedule was ridiculously easy. If you look at the teams they beat at the end of the year when they finished up 5-1. But I like what Kellen Moore is doing down there. I'm not a big fan of his, but got to give him credit. They've kind of turned things around here a little bit. They've improved their football team, getting 8 wins, 8 and 9. And don't forget, the NFC has the 1 extra home game this year. So 1 more home game for New Orleans. I think they get to 8 wins. Tampa Bay, same thing. Their number is 8.5. Over-under is 9. Schedule is pretty easy. The extra home game. They lost some players, but they're going to get Baker back healthy. He's working on the last year of his contract. He wants to have a monster year, which means he's going to be all in. If he's all in, the players will be all in. Easy division. So, like I said, schedule's not that difficult. Going 9-8 with that extra home game. I like them. I like that one a little bit. I wanted to go under on this one. I really did. That's the Rams. Their over-under was 11.5, though. I had them penciled in for 12 wins, 12-5. I could see this thing imploding. I really could. You might want to bet an over and then just a little hunch under 9.5, something like that. I could see Puka getting hurt again. I could see Devontae Adams being washed up. I could see Stafford certainly getting hurt again. It really could implode for a team that most people are thinking are the best team in the NFL by far. They're plus 550 to win it all, and the next team is over 10-1. I don't think they're that good, but I think that, if they all stayed healthy, 12-5 is definitely doable. So, and then over San Fran, this one I might like a little bit more as we get closer to the season. Their win total is 9.5. I have them winning 10, 11 games. Right now, everything is negative with San Francisco. Everything, whether it's the head coach who's getting into car accidents, whether it's what's his face, the wide receiver room, which is just decimated with injuries. Christian Kirk is hurt. Brandon Ayuk, who knows, he's coming back. All these guys, Mike Evans is hurt. They picked up from Tampa Bay. He's already hurt. Christian McCaffrey's an injury waiting to happen. So it's all negative. Meanwhile, they can put that all together when everything is said and done. Season's a long ways away for them. They got a lot of miles they got to travel because they got to go to Australia. But, over 9.5, 10-7 is really not that bad. I don't know if they're going to go 9-8. I think that San Fran's too good to go only 9-8, which is what you'd have to do to lose that one. So little small play on the over there as well. These are the middle ones. These I like a game and a half more than the total. Got 4 of them for you. Washington. Over-under is 7.5. I got them winning 9 games. I'm a Jaden Daniels fan. Hurt last year. Things kind of fell apart. I think they put it back together. It's not a difficult schedule. Dallas twice. Giants twice. Philadelphia is pretty good. But a lot of winnable games. They're going to have to win their fair share of those. It's really kind of what do you think? Are we going to get the year 2 years ago out of this Washington team or last year, which was a bust? I think we're going to go back to 2 years ago. I'm going to believe in Jaden Daniels. Give me Washington. Remember, Washington is kind of similar to Chicago. Washington 2 years ago won all those close games, like 5-6 close games on the final play of the game, if you remember that. And then last year, you just don't do that back-to-back years. And that's my only concern about the Bears with all those close games that they won this year or last year. But Washington, I got them winning 9 games, and that gives us a 1-game cushion. So I like that one a lot. Kansas City. Again, these are, you're going to have to buy into Patrick Mahomes being healthy. Their number is 10-5. Are they going to really lose with a healthy Mahomes? Are they really going to lose 7 games? I got to see it to believe it. I don't care who they're playing, where they're playing, why they're playing. The NFL is going to, want Kansas City and Mahomes to be back on, at the top of the leaderboard, right? So I have them winning 11 or 12 games. So I did that a little bit more. 12-5 is not out of the question for them. I think they're better than the Chargers. I think they're better than Denver when everything is said and done. Got their wide receivers back a little bit. So, yeah, give me Kansas City. Team we talked about yesterday, Arizona. I'll take the Cardinals. Their over-under is 3.5. We looked at their schedule. It's not easy. Last month, it is very, very easy. I just think with Brissett and all the guys they have on offense, they're going to score some points, which means they're going to be in every single game. New head coach. Get a couple of wins, and then you only need 2 more the rest of the way. In the last 4 weeks, they're playing like the Raiders and the Giants and the Jets and Tennessee's on there. I think they're better than that. I really do. Backfield is terrific. The wide receiving core can be pretty good. The tight end is obviously great. And Jacoby Brissett's not awful. He's not great. He's not even maybe good, but he's not awful. So I like over 3.5 Arizona. And then the last one would be Buffalo, over 10.5. I got them winning 12 games. Tough schedule, definitely. But again, Jets and Dolphins 2 times. There's 4 wins right there, 4 out of the 11 that you need. And I think they end up getting to 12. I like them a lot. This has got to be their year. It just has to be addition by subtraction. They lose their head coach. That's probably good. Josh Allen, 1 year removed from being married, concentrating maybe a little bit more on football. So I think the Bills get the job done and get to 12. So we got 5 more overs that are 2.5 games over their actual win total. And then we have about a half a dozen, not more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. about a dozen or so 13 unders that we like. So take a quick little break, come back, and then reveal our over-under NFL win totals coming up for the first time this year, and we'll keep an eye on that. So more coming up on the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStream Sports.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there.
Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream, fanstreamsports.com.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tom's Town, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tom's Town, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStream Sports as hour number 2 of our 2-hour show extravaganza. NFL over-unders. Never can get too early into those. So we're going over some of the overplays and some of the underplays. Here's our overplays that we like a lot. These are the best bets on the board. We like these games, 2.5 games wins over the number that are posted. Detroit Lions, 13. Over under is 10.5. This might be the best one on the board as far as the overs are concerned. Listen, yeah, you got to buy into Detroit, not being Detroit from last year and being Detroit from the year before. But I am, and I'm not the biggest Jared Goff fan, but the team is still loaded offensively. Their schedule is ridiculously easy, right? We only need 11 wins. They got New Orleans on the schedule, win. And these are home games too. Jets on the schedule, win. Carolina, Arizona on the schedule, win-win. That's 4. Miami on the schedule, that's 5. Tennessee on the schedule, that's 6. Giants on the schedule, that's 7. It's a who's who of the worst teams in the NFL outside of Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, that's 7 wins that, all right, let's say they find a way to lose to either at Carolina or at Arizona, back-to-back games, which I don't think is going to happen. But let's just say, all right, that's still 6 wins. You're halfway there. With games that you just, they're not losing, right? I mean, if they're going to be halfway decent. Then they got other games against Chicago, Tampa Bay, Chicago obviously in the division, but Tampa Bay at home, New England, neutral site game, at Minnesota, winnable, at Atlanta, winnable. It's not a bad schedule. It really is one of the easiest schedules. Outside of at Buffalo, week number 2, and that's really it. New England, that's a neutral site game, one of those over in neutral location, so somewhere that is. So other than those 2, that's it. There's no monsters, no Philadelphia Eagles, there's no, Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos, Baltimore Ravens, none of that stuff. So like I said, I love that one. I would definitely, adjust that one up. I like Houston also. Their over-under is 9.5, and I got them with 12 wins. Same thing. The Texans' schedule is ridiculously easy. They play first off in the AFC South, so right away, you're going to get 4 winnable games against the Colts and Tennessee Titans. And then they do have a little bit tougher schedule than what Detroit has, but, they got Buffalo. Buffalo plays everybody. They got Cincinnati, but they got Dallas at home. They got the Giants. They got the Browns. They got Washington. They got Tennessee. There's 5 wins right there. So, here's the team that had one of the best records in the NFL last year. I like them a lot. I got them winning 12 games. We mentioned Jacksonville. I got them winning 10, 11 games, and their over-under is 8.5. So with that low of a number, I put this into this category. I like the Jags. Again, they had one of the best records in the NFL last year. People don't realize that, but they finished up with 8 straight wins, 9 straight wins, whatever it was to close out the season. Tougher schedule, yes, this year, but not that much tougher. So, and then last one is Philadelphia, 13. Their over-under is 10.5. I'm a Jalen Hurts guy. I know a lot of people don't like him. I get it, fully understand that. But I think it's addition by subtraction, getting rid of A.J. Brown. He was clearly a cancer there, whether it was his fault or not. There were clear issues there. They got rid of him. I think Philadelphia's just too good of a football team. So I like that. So Detroit, Houston, Jacksonville, Philadelphia are the main ones. Cincinnati, by the way, should have been on the 1.5 category. I had the Bengals winning 12 games, and their over-under is 10.5. Not as many unders as we have overs, but few just the same. These are the minor ones. Under 11.5 Baltimore, 12-5 is not easy, which is what you need to get to cash this ticket. I don't think they get to 12-5. I think 11-6 is more likely. Derrick Henry's 32 years old. You got a new coordinator. You got a new head coach. You don't know how well that's going to pan out. So I just, division is the division. Schedule is, good, bad. It's indifferent. Nothing pro, nothing negative. I just don't think they're a 12-5 football team. They won 8 games last year. Don't forget them. They were 8-9 last year. Now all of a sudden they're going to get 4 more wins. I don't think so. Give me the under 11.5. I'll go under Giants 7.5. I got them winning 6 or 7 games. The injury bug is going to kill them. Their quarterback is an accident waiting to happen. Until he learns to run out of bounds and get down, he's going to get hurt again this year. Now, you have Jameis Winston as a backup, not the end of the world, but it all evolves around the quarterback. The running back, we know Scattervoo, doing backflips and everything else. And we don't know about Malik Neighbors. They're hoping he gets back in time, but too many ifs for this Giants team to go 8-9. I like the under there. And then Jets, under Jets 5.5. I got them like 4, maybe 5 wins. I mean, I don't know if the boys in Vegas really watched Geno play last year, but 6 wins, that's not a lot, 6-11, but I don't think so. Carolina, we'll go to the 1.5 games. Carolina under 7.5. Not buying into Bryce Young. Just not doing it. They won some games last year, knocked me out of a survivor pool, got to the postseason, covered against the Rams. So they were good last year, right? But boys in Vegas aren't buying it either. And either my, I got them winning 5 or 6 games tops, not 8. And the number is 7.5. Under 9.5 Green Bay. Got them winning 8, maybe 9 games. I'm not a big fan of Jordan Love. I'm just not. I think he's a mediocre quarterback. They paid a ton of money for a guy that's never won a big game in his life and just hasn't shown to me that he's that guy. So I got to see it to believe it. Raiders, under 5.5. They don't know what they're doing with their quarterback situation. Sooner or later, it is going to be Fernando Mendoza. Don't know when, but I don't see them getting 6 wins with this Raider team. Our Dolphins, what do we need to say? Right? They suck. Their over-under is 4.5. Not easy, getting less than 4.5 wins, but I got them winning 2, maybe 3 games. Maybe. And that's only because they played the Jets and the Raiders. I actually like the Raiders for survivor pool pick in week number 1. If they don't win that game, you'll know right away. If they don't beat the Raiders, they're not getting the 5 wins. Clear as day. Because in order to get the 5 wins with their schedule, which is brutal, they absolutely have to beat the Raiders. So you'll know right away on this one. And I don't think they're getting there. So I like that one a lot. I'm going to go under Chargers, 9.5. I got them winning maybe 8 games. Justin Herbert is married. He's playing in a tough division. He's got bigger fish to fry right now, other than listening to goofy Jim Harbaugh. Denver has overtaken them for the second best team in that division, if not the best behind Kansas City, right? Still better than the Raiders, I get that, but yeah, I thought that was going to be a good fit, but it's not working out. And then I'll go under Seattle, 10.5. Got them winning 9 games. Classic Super Bowl letdown. Just classic. They go from the hunter to the huntee. 11-6, which is what they would need to go in order for you to lose this bet. That's a pretty tough record to get in the NFC West. You got some tough. You got San Francisco. You got the Rams, obviously. Arizona certainly helps, but I don't think they're getting to 11 wins. I don't. I think they could be in for a real setback. I got 4 best bets, 2.5 games below the number. Going to start with Dallas. Yeah, 9.5. I got them winning 7 wins. I bought into them last year. Not this season. I've been burned too often with this dopey team. I know on paper it looks like things should be okay. Their offense, second to none. The defense sucks, but they made some improvements maybe. But you know what? I've been burned too often with this team. I don't think they're getting to 10-7. I really don't. I like under Minnesota, 8.5. You know what? Kyler Murray sucks. J.J. McCarthy, he's always hurt, and he doesn't look like he's any good either. I think that's a sinking ship. You bring in a guy like, Kyler Murray, you know that is a sinking ship. So I don't think they're beating Chicago in either one of the games. I don't think they're beating Detroit in either of the games, and I don't think they're beating Green Bay. I mean, it's a tough division. They could go 1-5 realistically. I don't see them coming close to 8.5. I got them with 6 wins. Speaking of 6 wins, that's what I had the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their number is 8.5. It's Aaron Rodgers is going to be 43 people in December. 43 years old. I mean, he was slowing down 2 years ago. He was slowing down last year, and he's going to be even slower this year. Now you get rid of Mike Tomlin. You bring in the Bozo. We got a 1 year older quarterback. I think this has got 3-4 wins. I'll give them 6, but I don't think with one less home game, don't forget AFC team, I do not see this team going 9-8. I like this one. This is one of the better unders too. And then the last one is Tennessee. I got them winning 4 times. Their over-under is 6.5. They had 3 wins last year. Maybe they get 5 wins, maybe. And I actually like Cam Ward in college. I thought he was going to do much, much, much better last year. But, boy, he was awful. That offensive line was atrocious. They're going to go from 3 wins to 7. You know, the AFC South isn't great, but it is balanced, you know, and you're at the bottom of the barrel there. You know, they got to beat Jacksonville? I doubt it. You know, they got to beat Houston? No. Maybe they get a win out of the Indy series, but that's it. That means one win, and you got to find, you know, 6 more in your non-conference schedule or non-division schedule. Again, I got to see it to believe it. So Dallas under, Minnesota under, Pittsburgh under, Tennessee under. Those are the ones I really like. Now, I looked at this about a month and a half or so ago, and I'm pretty much dead on with what I thought. You know what? I did like the over the Falcons. That was 6.5 back then. What is it now? It was 7.5. Oh, actually, it still is 6.5. Yeah, okay. So I like that. I like Buffalo. Tough schedule. I wrote down before, but are they going to lose 7 times? I don't think so. So those were one of the Buffalo was one of the overs. Yeah, right. I had them at 12 wins, and then the last over I liked was Detroit way back when, and I still like that 10.5, same number. The unders I liked.
Yeah, I saw that it was different.
The Jets, which I still like. Cleveland, I actually flipped on Cleveland. The Cleveland number was 6.5. It's not 6.5 now, right? No, it's 5.5. So they dropped that. So I think, and it's funny. I wrote down 6 wins back then, which is what I think they'll get. So that's why I flipped to it over. And then the Jets under. So basically the same thinking I had last month is what I like now. So
let me show you what.
Changed. The only one that changed was the Browns, and that's because the number changed. Otherwise, it would be the same. So, all right. So the numbers didn't flip. So good deal there. So those are the ones. So our best bets right now: under Dallas, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and then over Detroit, Houston, Jacksonville, Philadelphia.
So when you go to set the feature image,
not bad.
This.
Let's see. Let me check our
fish.
Little board here and then get some comments. We got Zach in Jerusalem, Thurgold there. Trading prospects in baseball is like trading 2nd and 3rd round picks 6 years from now in football. Yeah, it is. They're basically just not necessarily worthless, but they're a dime a dozen. You can reclaim those and re-get more and more. But there's 20 guys you drafted every single year. I would never in baseball. Maybe football, basketball, maybe, but drafting guys, I would never let that, prospect steer the clear of me making a trade for a player I really like. So, I don't know why teams don't do it. I really don't. Aside from they don't want to win. They just don't want to win. So, let me check our Twitter feed here, see if anything else is going on. I don't think so, but yeah. That's basically it. Let me check some emails here before we get to. I'll leave you with this. No, nothing. Let me just see one thing. Reds dodging bullets. Someone, Johnny here. Red Sox were close to, and again, you never know, right? But supposedly, the Red Sox were close to trading for Dela Cruz from the Cincinnati Reds. Kept their star shortstop. The deadline passed. He remains under contract. So, boy, that would have been great. Now you're talking a trade. Boy, if the Red Sox would have picked him up, man, that would have been cool. So, I'd not see that, John. I know a lot of names come up, but I don't know if it was, what they were asking for was too much, or Cincinnati just said no. We're not even, discussing it, but that would have been good. That would have been tremendous. So, remember the story we showed you? One of the leave you with this last week was the roller coaster that kind of was 200 feet in the air and just kind of stood on a cliff and then it would fall over, right? So Six Flags Park in New Jersey. Been there a few times. Say they're starting a new roller coaster called the Serpent from the Philippine Legend. Opens next year. It'll be the world's fastest spinning roller coaster, zooming 100 miles an hour, fastest inversion, meaning going up first upside down launch. So what, you're getting into this seat upside down already? The longest stall inversion, so you're stopping in midair going backwards. The tallest spinning coaster and the first floorless spinning coaster, which I don't even know what that is. And I don't think I want to know what that is. You could not pay me to get on that stuff. So anyway, we'll see how that really pans out. We broke a rule here on a Tuesday, and we had a debate. Normally we have one leave you with this, but I couldn't figure out which one to go with. So we're breaking a rule on a Tuesday. First time we've broken a rule. We're going to go with two. First one, we'll leave you with this. Montana Tech football coach. I think I've heard of this before. Bob Green. Think of Mike Leach, but on steroids. Here is good old. Hold on a second. Hold on. Here is good old Bob Green.
The win was that the Ore Diggers took control early. Kind of like when you get married. That first day, your wife takes control early. And that's what the Ore Diggers did. Our football team was like the kid that plays second French horn in the school band. We got to play better. And that's a double-edged sword. It's kind of like watching your mother-in-law go off a cliff in a Cadillac. You got mixed feelings. First of all, they got after it hard. I'm telling you, they were like a hobo on a ham sandwich. They were going hard all the way. He's like that black lab on the first day of pheasant hunting season. He was pulling at the chain. We're kind of like a woodpecker in a petrified forest. Just keep busy and look for opportunities. I wanted to raise my kids using a depth chart. Can you imagine that? I wanted that. Pam Green vetoed that idea. I got a short memory, just like when I was in the third grade. 2 of the best years of my life. I don't like that bottled water. I like that butte water. You get to eat and drink at the same time. Some aspects look like we're really ready to play. A couple of other aspects look like we just got off Willie Nelson's tour bus. His attitude's positive. He thinks he could take on hell with a squirt gun. It's kind of like that T-bone steak dinner with all the trimmings. They played a complete game. With Jacksonville, what more can happen? Jacksonville's so bad they sentence prisoners to attend the games. Everybody expects you to win. My wife couldn't go to church with me on Sunday, and everybody said, "Where is she?" I said, "She doesn't go out with losers." I had a 6 ACT in 1967. One time I got an A, and my grandma beat me for cheating. At all the calls I made on fourth down all those years, you know what my favorite fourth down call was?
What?
Punt. It was the most successful play we had.
How great is that? I think I've seen something like that before with him last year during the college football playoffs. If memory serves right, Montana Tech, I think, got into the playoffs or something. But how great is that? Like, he could never, although Mike Leach comes to mind, right? He would, God bless Mike Leach, rest his soul, right? Him and Green would have a great one-on-one, right? But could you imagine a coach like at Ohio State talking about your mother-in-law driving off a cliff in a Cadillac and having mixed emotions, right? Or all the goofy things he said. Man, you imagine the Notre Dame head coach or the Alabama head coach or Ohio State, Michigan. Michigan coaches, they live in it. They actually, you know what? Forget Michigan. They actually live this stuff, not just say it. That's pretty funny. So I was debating, should we leave you with that? What would be better than that, Scott? Well, I don't know what to say. As much as we say things about the Bob Green, I don't know what to say about this. Joey Chestnut, you bet your match. Want to see that again? Of course you do. Hot dog eating contest. Two women. Who can eat the biggest bite?
God Almighty.
What do you does anything really need to be said? Well, we'll get in enough trouble just playing that, but
I'm going to need a minute, Scott. You don't end the show yet. I'm going to need a minute.
Yeah. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy, huh? Way to go, gals. Way to go. Now, those are the women we need in the WNBA. There you go. That's what we need. So, Anyway, good job by the listeners. Good job by our producer, Mr. Tim. Be back tomorrow, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Sports Grid. Hopefully your weather's doing as well as ours. Have yourself a great Tuesday, folks, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.